What's up, y'all? Let me just was letting my posting that I'm live, and let me just find some sort of frequency music to play in the background to keep my temperament. Although I don't expect to go off topic here, and everything I'm talking about is love based, high energy, God consciousness, and whatnot. But anytime I have to interact with the chat room and the public, there is always a possibility. So let me just turn on my favorite frequency music, 639 hertz. How's my sound? Can you guys hear me okay? Tapping in with you guys in the chat room. How y'all doing? Hey, Spot Casino, how you doing? Walaikum salam, Brother Jamil. How are you? It's very good to see your beautiful name in my chat. Peace be major motivator. Very happy to have you. DJ V, peace. What's good? How you doing? High energy and God consciousness facts. Perfect. All right, cool. So, first of all, I hope you guys are doing well. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2026. This year is flying by. I pray this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I'm sure you're somewhere in the world where it is extremely hot because the weather is in a very particular and peculiar space right now all over the world. And there's a lot of levels to that. I'm not going to really get into that right now. But my topic today, doubt interrupts the flow. It was either going to be doubt interrupts the flow or it was going to be intuition, trust your gut. So I'm going to talk about both of those things today. I think I might have had a video called Intuition and I was being lazy. I didn't want to look for it. I think I might already have a video on YouTube called about intuition. So I didn't want to double down on that to confuse anybody that might be looking for this video or come back to look for it. So I settled on doubt interrupts the flow, but we are also going to talk about intuition. I also have part 2 of that AI video that I did. I still have some things that I didn't talk about that I'm going to talk about. I might just record that video or do it later today. But it's a difficult position to be in, to be a serious person in this world. And it's something that I've been struggling with my whole life, particularly since I've been on this career path, at least as far as this public, work that I do on social media and whatnot. It's very frustrating and difficult to be a serious person in this world. And I don't mean serious like I think people have a very interesting perception of me. They think one way about me just because they're watching my content. But in real life, I'm super laid back. I'm hella silly. I got jokes for days. I smile all the time, which is why it irritates me to the end of the earth and back when people tell me to smile. No, you smile. I don't smile on demand. I smile when I want to smile. And if I don't want to smile, then I don't smile. But yeah, this perception that people have of me just because this is my work, this is a day at the office for me. And so people kind of like try to pinpoint me a certain type of way, and it is nowhere near my actual real personality. But with all of that being said, I think sometimes when you say serious, people automatically think that you don't have a personality or you don't have fun or you aren't silly and playful. No, I'm all of those things. But in this space, and this is why it's good for me to do the lives, where I just do Q&As, where I don't have to be talking about specific subjects. But a lot of times in this space, I'm serious. Number one, because I'm very hyper aware of what's happening in the world. I have been for a long time, even when I was a child. Very hypersensitive to other people, very sensitive to, the conditions on the ground, so to speak. But then also because, I'm a nerd. I like to read. I like to research. These are things that are very particular to my personality. And so if I'm sitting here and trying to have a conversation about something that is important to me, that I feel like people should be aware of, that I feel like we should be paying attention to, And the frequency and the energy in the chat, not that the chat has to be anything, there's no rules and regulations here, right? You can say what you feel and whatnot, but sometimes it just throws me off when I see certain comments in my chat room and I'm talking about something that's like serious or profound, and then I see somebody in the chat talking about Chuck Taylor's. It's a fascinating thing to have to navigate. And so a lot of times, like today, my subject is doubt interrupts the flow, right? I said we're going to talk about intuition and trusting your gut, right? These are real time, real conditions of the mind and the heart and the spirit that all of us in one way are navigating, right? My whole intention of doing this video and coming to talk to you guys is to raise the frequency, is to add value, right? To bring a message that is not on par with the noise of this world, because the noise of this world, the chaos of this world is increasing by day. And one of the reasons why I titled this video, Doubt Interrupts the Flow, I've seen like 3 or 4 videos, and I was going to play them, but I'm not going to play them because it's not necessary, where people are like predicting these very, and y'all know I follow a lot of conspiracy type content for reasons that obviously you guys should know. But and not even just in spiritual, I think 1 or 2 of them was on some spiritual pages. I mean, not even just conspiracy. I think 1 or 2 of them was on spiritual type pages. And it was like 4 or 5, and like either 3 or 4 of them were from women, which is always interesting to me because I personally expect women to be a little bit more balanced. I hold women to a higher threshold in terms of us not only bringing the factual data type information, but also balancing the conversation out with the spiritual and the emotional perspective. Now, do most women do that? No. But if you run a spiritual page and you are, sort of promoting spiritual context, metaphysics context, then yeah, I do expect you to be a little bit more balanced. Not taking anything away from men, because I follow plenty of men that do that. So we got these videos and these people are like, from July 20 something until August something, you better be prepared because this is about to happen and that's about to happen. And I'm like, whoa. Hold up, swell up. I just came online to tap in and see what the frequency is and what's going on in the world. And now all of a sudden you got me thinking about Armageddon. And respectfully to those people and to everybody, and I have to say this to remind all of you guys about the bigger picture of my content, because even in the last video where I talked about AI, I go out of my way, right? I see I'm freezing up a little bit, so I don't know what's going on with that. I haven't even uploaded any video content, so hopefully it'll stay on point. Hopefully I'm not buffering on your end. I go out of my way, right, to make sure you guys know I'm not afraid, to make sure you guys know we're looking at this from an intellectual, right, vantage point. We are the keepers of the earth. Is that right? I thought we were the keepers of the earth. So if we were charged with being the keepers of the earth, then all I'm doing is coming to us and showing us what's happening on the earth, what's happening with humanity, right? But people perceive that as fear or fear porn or promoting a fear-based agenda. When again, if I spend 2 hours talking about AI, for sure, at least 30 minutes of that conversation, I'm talking about the spiritual aspect of this. These things apply to NPCs, not me. Right? 85, 10, 5. I go out of my way every single video, like breaking that concept down. 85% being the deaf, dumb, and blind. 10% being the bloodsuckers of the poor. 5% being the true and righteous people of God. And that's not the verbatim definition. So MGT, FOI, don't jam me up. I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm on a roll here, so just work with me. Shout out to my brother Jamil Muhammad, who is an astute teacher and scientist in his own regard and minister for many years in the Nation of Islam, whom I love very much. But yeah, so that's just me giving a, the base level explanation, right? So I understand that if I talk to the 85% about these things, they might perceive it as fear. I understand that the 10% might be in a chat room trying to kick up dust, whether it's a a bot, right, which represents the 10% for sure, or whether it's just somebody trying to like outpace me and always being contrary and always trying to, one up me and the things that I'm talking about. Teachers looking for students. I'm a magnet for those. But then the 5%, and the 5% of the 5% is the real number, but I digress. The 5% is who I'm really trying to reach. Right? So we should be able to come together and talk. Well, so let me go back to my point. So in the chat room, and if you watch that video, that AI live that I did, at the end of the video, I was like, I have more content, I have more information, but I'm out. Because it's like, I get bored with this world, right? I get bored. It's like right now, I know everybody's talking about Jay-Z, right? Whether it's the concerts, and I watched some of the clips, fly ass concert, whatever. It's a concert, it's a show, right? If I wanted the algorithm to work for me, I would just come and do live and put Jay-Z's name in the subject and put Beyonce's name or whoever's name in the subject. And I know, or any celebrity or trending topics, I know how to make the algorithm work for me, but it just bores me to no end. And so again, when I was at the end of that video, and I'm just saying that for those of you guys who were tuning in, who might have been like, damn, she just, tapped out real quick. Sometimes in my mind and in my spirit, I feel like I'm screaming in the wind. And in particular, if I come and do a conversation like this, right, where we're talking about doubt, we're talking about self-awareness, we're talking about consciousness, we're talking about love, we're talking about all the things that will get us to the next level and help us to navigate this insanity and chaos that's happening in the world. And that's coming, particularly for the 85% and the 10%, because your ass is about to be on the chopping block too. That's why, you know what I mean? I don't even want to talk about Jay-Z because I understand that it's not the time, right? You talk about him right now when everybody's on the high, it's not going to go well. And it'll get good views. It'll bring in great numbers. But the amount of low vibrational energy that comes to me when I talk about that stuff, I want to deal with that shit. So if I can come and talk to you guys about the things that I'm actually interested in, and I can get people to tune in and come tap in with me live, this is way more of my speed. I feel a lot right now, this heavy weight, because I really just want to go in the lab and close the door and really focus on the things I really want to focus on. The research, the metaphysics, the spirituality. I feel, and I have this weight all the time, that I'm not really channeling my energy in the best way. So that's why I was supposed to do, I told you guys I'm on a 30-day, campaign right now. I'm challenging myself to do videos every day. Saturday and Sunday, I couldn't even bring myself to do it. I just was like, I'm just not feeling it. And I have a part 2 for the AI. I'm going to finish that because I've collected all of this data. But so there's a lot of people in the world, and a lot of people in my audience in particular, that are feeling stagnant right now, that might be feeling lost right now, that are, getting caught up in the chaos of life right now and what's happening in the world and all the things, right? So I'm here to provide a space of refuge for you guys, right? I want to be able to come and have a conversation for 45 minutes or an hour. I always say it's going to be 45 minutes. It always ends up being more longer than that. But your girl can talk. The point is, do I have important and valuable things to say? And am I repeating myself? That's a big thing for me. As long as I'm not repeating myself and I'm making sense and I'm clicking, then I'm good. And if I can get you guys to tap in and listen, and we ain't talking about no worldly stuff, and this has value and we're engaged, then yeah, this is my tribe, right? So I'm going to do the AI, the other side, part 2. Probably won't call it that. It'll be maybe call something different. But I'm going to try to do it today. We'll see. Let me tap in with you guys in the chat room real quick before I get into the nitty gritty of what I have to say. Walaikum salam, Sandra. How you doing, Queen? Very happy to have you here. Walaikum salam. Janelle, am I saying that right? Hopefully I am. Peace to the God, Netaru. How you doing, King? Always happy to see you in my chat. Hi, Flown. Peace and what's good? Happy to have you here. Peace, Dylan. Assalamu alaikum, Queen Amina. How you doing? That's my sis right there. She be holding me down in the chat. Boom. I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling clear. I'm feeling tapped in. I'm feeling like I need to be on my square. That's how I feel right now. So there's a seriousness in my tone that you guys will be able to pick up on, especially those of you guys who watch my content all the time. Because again, I just got kind of triggered. I was watching some stuff online and it was just like hella negative. And then you got Black people that are super like, if it's not entertainment, it's what the white man is doing. And it's just like all these schisms and it's divergent in the collective consciousness. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? Thank you so much, Dr. AJ. I appreciate you. He says the super chats, he says entrance fee and greetings, Zaza. Much love, King. I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for the support. And our next book club meeting for members is going to be on Saturday, the 25th. It's actually supposed to be the 18th, but I have an engagement that day. So on the 25th, I will post in the membership channel so you guys will have the direct link. It's where you can join us by video or you can join us by audio. And I'm definitely looking forward to having you join us. I'm going to read a passage from 3 Magic Words today, just for context, some of the things that we'll be talking about then. I get tired of when people do that fear mongering. Yeah, real talk. You and the land are at one. Yes, all you're doing is using light in a mirror and they sweat. You're destroying their beliefs when you come to them in truth and righteousness. Facts. Peace, Tony Ramon. How you doing? I was definitely out of line that last live session. I'll admit you dropped a lot of stuff I was aware about, but didn't know how deep it went. I learned a lot. Yeah, and you shifted gears, high flown. That's how you guys know I pay attention to people who comment on my content and who comment in my chat. You shifted gears. And for me and for any of us, that's the best possible scenario. You know what I mean? Like you come to the door with a certain type of perspective or energy. And then as the information starts to unfold, it's like, oh, okay, wait, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, wait, you put me on to something. Like that's what intelligent people do. I can rock with you, right? Because, you know, we're all trying to figure this out. We're all learning on the job, so to speak. So you shifted energy, you shifted gears in your perspective, and it's all good. It's all love. That makes me respect you even more, you know? Life is beautiful. The system is messed up, useless, and over. The system of their world, for sure. Solomon, peace was good. Happy to have you here. Thank you for not talking about sports and rap in Hollywood, more about spirituality, knowledge, and wisdom. Yeah, that's where we at. Not Know the Ledge 360. Is this my brother? Is that you? I think that's you, but I'm not sure. Wow, yes, you pronounced it correctly. Okay, see you, girl. I know a few things. You know what I mean? Peace, Miss Keita. How you doing, sis? Very happy to have you here. My brother Netaru, Amina, gratitude goddess, Dr. AJ, much love. I appreciate you. Richie Rich was good. I'm on chapter 11. Beautiful, like the earrings. Thank you. Okay. I have my notes here. I have my book here. I also have some content that I want to upload real quick. I want to start out with this one video because it kind of underscores the energy that I'm talking about in terms of like the beings of light right now, where we are with the mindset of the average. And I say average tongue in cheek because I know, you know, there's plenty of us out here that are not the 85 percenters, right? I don't ever want to seem like, you know, it's us against them. There's plenty of highly intelligent people out here. But I also know that the givers, right, and the ones who have been warning people or the ones who have been trying to shift consciousness or get people to pay attention to not only what's happening in the world, but more importantly to themselves. That's always the interesting thing to me is like this type of content is for you to focus, to point you in the direction of yourself. If I talk about AI, that's some worldly shit. If I talk about celebrities, that's some worldly shit. If I talk about, you know, all of the other things, but like when I do these conversations, we're talking about you. You know what I mean? So this guy, his vantage point where he talks about kind people and how you get to a certain breaking point where you hit a plateau. And now all of a sudden it's not about giving. It's not about waking people up. It's not about getting people to pay attention to themselves or to anything. It's about, oh, okay, I did my job and now I'm in retreat mode. Peace, Underground UFO.
Silence. One day, the kindest person you know simply disappears from your life. No warning, no explanation, no final conversation. They're just gone. And according to Carl Jung, this is not coldness. This is psychology's most powerful act of becoming. When someone finally cuts everyone off, they aren't losing themselves, they're returning to themselves. And once that process begins, nothing reverses it. Jung spent decades studying this pattern, and what he found surprised everyone. These weren't the difficult people. These weren't the ones holding grudges. These were the ones who stayed the longest, who forgave the most, who absorbed what others couldn't, and kept showing up anyway, until the day they didn't. And Jung didn't call that a collapse. He called it an awakening. Here's what most people never understand about the person who walked away. They didn't decide this recently. The decision was made quietly over years, and Jung called it the accumulation phase, the long silent period where the unconscious mind is keeping a record of the conscious mind, refuses to acknowledge. Every time their generosity was treated as obligation, recorded. Every time their patient was mistaken for permission, recorded. Every time they swallowed something that deserved to be said, recorded. They never mentioned it. They never showed it. They kept giving, kept forgiving, kept making themselves available to people who had stopped making themselves worthy of it. But something deeper was counting, and kind people, truly kind people, are not weak. They are precise. This is where Jung's concept of the shadow becomes everything. Everyone carries a shadow, the unacknowledged parts of the self. For most people, it holds the darker impulses, the anger they won't admit to, the selfishness they pretend isn't there. But for the chronic giver, the one who learned early that their needs were inconvenient, the shadow holds something else entirely. Their strength, their boundaries, their capacity to choose themselves, their ability to walk away from what was never truly reciprocated. And when that shadow finally activates, it doesn't explain itself. It doesn't offer closure. It doesn't wait for the right moment or the right words or the right understanding from people who never tried to understand them before. It simply moves completely, finally, without looking back. And this is called individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself, not the version of yourself built around everyone else's comfort. The actual self, the one that exists when the performance of selfishness is finally allowed to end. And you cannot reach that self while pouring everything you have into people who never once asked if you had enough left for yourself. The cutting off isn't the loss. The cutting off is the arrival. The silence you left behind is not emptiness. It's the sound of a person who gave everything to everyone. Finally,
There's like 2 seconds left. And he said what everything that he needed to say. Um, we're in that timeline right now where the chosen ones have to choose themselves. And I've been saying that for a long time, right? Let me just write this down so I don't forget my thought. The givers, and sometimes you can be a giver. Well, let me not go there, but this is the timeline now where the chosen ones have to choose themselves, right? And so the yin and the yang and the balance and flow of reality of life and how you have to, I say knowledge of self is different than knowledge of yourself, and we all have a universal clock, right? So there's a time to give and give and give and give. There's a time to be still and be quiet. There's a time to get active and get motivated. There is a time to stop and to, take a longer amount of time and ponder more your decision or your next move, right? There's a time where you got to get active and be decisive. I think that's one of the biggest things that so many people are struggling with. Where did I put that on my note here so I don't forget? I'm a mad scientist, y'all. Y'all have to bear with me. That's one of the biggest things that most people struggle with is their decisiveness, right? So that's one of the motivations behind this title. Doubt interrupts the flow. What is doubt about? Indecisiveness. And a lot of times we're indecisive because we haven't even decided or imagined or visioned or claimed or envisioned or claimed what it is that we really truly desire in this life. I'm going to show a video of a second of this brother talking about how everything in the world, we were born, originally everything was free. And now all of a sudden everything has a cost, right? And so we're living in this synthetic reality just as it pertains to, the Bible says, in my Father's house there are many mansions, and it also says in many different ways that abundance is your birthright, right? Well, if abundance is my birthright and your birthright, why did I grow up in poverty? You know what I mean? Why does it cost so much just to live and just to survive? And so we end up on these hamster wheels, and we never get a chance to just stop and just really be like, no, I don't want to do that. Nah, this relationship's not working for me. Yeah, these chicks that I've been hanging around for my whole entire life that I just have around me because I need to have friends around me, or, the male equivalent of that. Yeah, this isn't working for me anymore. A lot of givers are surrounded by energy vampires. This is a fact. Right? That's alchemy on another level, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I want to share this screenshot real quick. Shout out to everybody who is just tuning in. Please make sure you guys like this video. Thank you so much for being here. If you're not subscribed, hopefully this title intrigued you and then you showed up, because if this title intrigued you, then you're probably my folks. So subscribe if you haven't already. Please like the video. And of course, your girl is accepting all reciprocity. He mentioned reciprocity in the video. My Cash App information is in the description. Super chat, super thanks, super stickers, all of the things, especially if this message is bringing you life. So there is this comment. Let me bring it up. Which one is it? Okay, this one. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. That's alchemy. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. Now let's contextualize this in terms of the Black community. What have we done, or what are we doing with what's been done to us? And perception is everything, right? So I've told you guys over the years, like I got to a point, I'm gonna shift my camera here a little bit. I got to a point where when I was in college and I was on this studying history rampage, and I was trying to, because I went from African studies and ancient civilizations and whatnot to, by the way, Ancient People, a Social Studies and History textbook. The ebook version is available on my website, link in the description. But I got to a point where I couldn't get past slavery, right? I was just like, what kind of God would put us in this situation? What, you know what I mean? Like, and then I grew up in Oakland, right? Half my family got, taken out by crack cocaine. I was surrounded by drugs and chaos and violence, and I'm just this nerdy young girl that's like trying to navigate the world and having to confront all of this craziness at a young age. And so I've always been like very trying to understand things, trying to like sharpen my perspective about how I was looking at the world, right? So on a collective consciousness level for us as a people here in America and melanated people all over the world, but then you have to kind of gradiate the conversation, because what happened and what is happening in Africa is different than what's happening here. What's happening in South America is different what's happening here. The consciousness of the people in all of these places is different than what it is here, right? So freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. That is alchemy. Now, most people get snagged on what was done to them or what's been done to them, right? The world of podcasters is full of, there is a male aspect of this and a female aspect of this. Y'all know I am an equal opportunity for both. The world is full of male podcasters that are stoking the flames of all of these women are ... And then there is a whole category of women that are talking about men, and Black men in particular, and all Black men are ... right? So you still have not, as a woman or as a man, looked at your life experiences and the circumstances of your life, the relationships that you've attracted and the things that you've experienced, and taken the perception of it was done to me and started to look at it as this is a benefit to my highest and best good because of whatever the case is, right? Black people in America, this is what's in our best interest in the bigger scheme of things, because what? We're known globally all over the world for many things, for sports, for entertainment, for education, for the most powerful revolutionaries in modern world history. Black people in America, this is a fact. Nina Simone, Minister Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Noble Drew Ali. Marcus Garvey, even though he was originally from Jamaica, his people were from Jamaica, but let's be clear, his claim to fame was here. Same with Dr. Sebi. Claim to fame was here. Michael Jackson, the poets of the world, the poets of our people here, right? Writers such as myself, respectfully. Thinkers, thought leaders such as myself, respectfully, and many others. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, right? Scientific minds, biological, or not biological, like those of us trying to figure this shit out, not just for the sake of our people, particularly for the sake of us, but as we break through these sort of chains in consciousness, we free the world. This is why I keep saying, Africa is 100% on the verge of an economic explosion and revolution, but we're in a spiritual war. And no people are more prepared to lead the world, not just us, in a spiritual war than Black people in America. Whatever title you prefer. Don't start an argument about using the word Black. Just fill in the blank with the one you prefer. Why is that? Because alchemy. Because freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. Who's alchemized what's been done to us? The 5% of the 5%. Mind you, I didn't even say anything about actors and entertainers, right? So, and I'm not saying that to monopolize the facts that we're the only ones. Of course, there is highly spiritual aware kings and queens in Africa, all over the world. This is what you call grid stabilizing. You know what I mean? Where you can project, where you can write, where you can prophesize, where you can speak, where you can intention, where you can be cognizant of raising the frequency or stabilizing the frequency in your environment. That's why this shit the whole entire world hasn't just completely blown up in chaos, because there are grid stabilizers all over this world, right? So I'm acknowledging that. And that goes beyond race. Now we start talking about a frequency element, right? We have the advantage in that regard in terms of frequency and consciousness because of melanin, because of experience, because of the timeline, because of the pendulum shift, because of the story of Hiram Abiff, right? The concept of being buried in a shallow grave for a certain amount of time so that certain things can take place on our planet and in this country in particular, before the reawakening, if you will, takes place. So that's where high levels of spiritual alchemy and understanding become important, because now it's not woe is me. Now it's not racism, white supremacy. Now it's not they keep up their foot on our necks. Now it's not my baby's mother is not allowing me to see my children and I hate her and I can't stand her, or I keep running to all these men and they're all dogs and ... No, alchemy is recognizing the patterns, recognizing where you're falling short, recognizing where your lower nature might be running the show, right? Recognizing where you need to do better and be better, and then transmuting that energy to become your highest and best self. So doubt interrupts the flow, which is our subject today, is about piercing the concept of doubt. But you got to believe in yourself. One of the most powerful, where did I write this in my notes? Let me find it. One of the most powerful, we say, oh, I'm tired of talking about the problems. What's the solution? If I had $1 for every time somebody said that shit to me, which I've been creating and am a walking solution, right? And if I have to come up with the solutions, we should all have to come up with the solutions, right? But one of the greatest, what's the word I'm looking for? We talk about putting on the armor of God, right? What's the armor of God? Belief in yourself. What is the armor of God? Belief in yourself. We could say faith. That would be another word. But I think the word faith, and I have a passage from the book that I want to read on faith. I think the word faith, because it's used mostly in religious concepts, that a lot of people don't really, kind of understand the weight and the benefit of that. If you understand the law of attraction, right? What's the law? What's the law of assumption? The law of assumption is creating a vision in your mind, identifying a desire in your heart, in your mind's eye, allowing Freudian slip, no doubt, no lack-based consciousness, no victim-based consciousness, no woe is me, no my parents weren't supporting me, life isn't supporting me, I don't have the money, I don't know what I'm going to do, but having pure, unadulterated faith that what you assume to be true will be made manifest. Now, for a lot of people, this is over their heads. What do you mean I can create my own reality? I grew up in the hood. I don't want to hear that shit. Or I'm a single mother with 3 children. Now, what does that actually mean to me? I got to get up and make sure that, that the bills get paid. I was doing a consultation the other day, and the sister might be listening. What's up, Queen, if you are? By the way, there's a link in the description for 50% off a consultation. I'm only offering that for a very short amount of time because I'm getting ready to stop doing consultations altogether, to the gentleman's point that we just watched in that video. And I'm going to be launching my programs again, which means one-on-one consultations. I'm not going to be doing them anymore. So you can talk to me and get my vantage point and perspective right now for a very, very low price. But she said in the conversation, mother, all the things, she said, that all that sounds good, but I barely have 5 minutes to myself. I have 5 minutes for myself on a given day basis. So what do you mean, Zaza? Like, you talking all of this, blah, 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 right? I'm a mom. I got to do this and do that and do this and do that, right? We all have that story in our own particular way. So, we got into the nitty gritty of the conversation, and I started checking off things and walking it back and looking at the bigger picture of things. And so it turns out, and I love you, sis, if you're watching, this is all anonymous. It turns out that she is spending a very large amount of her time ruminating in her mind, meaning she's at war in her mind about a particular thing. So when she's washing dishes, when she's folding clothes, when she's dropping the children off, when she's at the grocery store, on a consistent basis, she has this program, hamster wheel, running in her mind that is very counterproductive, that is very low vibration in nature, that is working against her in every possible way. And she's got goals and dreams and desires that she hasn't even really fully painted, right? She could be listening, and this is what I was telling her. You washing dishes and slamming the dishes around, and you ain't even realizing what you're doing. You could be spending that 20 minutes listening to a video about ... right? Whatever you're interested in. Or you could be listening to a video talking about the importance of believing in yourself, or, some sort of spiritual representation that can help you find balance and clarity. Or, and this, I didn't say this to her, but this is just the bigger picture. We have these things in our personal lives and in our personal reality. To quote Joe Dispenza, he said, your personality is your personal reality. It's created based on your personal reality, right? We have all sorts of things and interests and snags and, best case scenario, like there's so much complexity to being a human being, and we are undervaluing, underappreciating, underserving ourselves, right? And so I'm in the flow, I'm doing my thing, right? And so I'm like, so guess what? You don't only have 5 minutes a day. You have way more than 5 minutes a day. All this confused energy and this focused energy that you are putting in a space that is counterproductive, you could be learning something new. You could be raising the vibration in terms of your mindset and how you're thinking about things. You could be, if you got a physical health issue, which a lot of people do, you could be studying that particular part of your body, that chronic disease or that chronic pain or whatever. You could be figuring the shit out, setting an intention to figure it out. What was happening? The wheel and the hamster wheel of the mind is in control. So all you're doing is just ruminating where you already are, stuck where you already are, running on a hamster wheel and wasting a lot of time. In the Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance workbook, I talk about the concept of energy leaks. Doubt is an energy leak. Fear is a major inner leak, and fear, of course, is tied to doubt, right? So the law of assumption says that if you have a desire or something you want to be made manifest, and you think about it consistently enough, and you hold the vision consistently enough, and you talk about it as though it's already real, and you think about it like it's already real, and you envision yourself in the process of having or being or doing, and there's no doubt, and there's no low self-esteem, and there's no insecurity or why you don't deserve it or why you can't have it, it will 1000% be made manifest. But what's the problem? Most of us don't believe in ourselves. So, the same way I say, that they, meaning the powers that used to be, if they, their whole world is built on an illusion, right? Hollywood is Satan's vision board. But if you believe it, it's true. So if you don't believe in yourself, then guess what? You're going to attract a mate that's going to increase the propensity of your lack of self-belief. You're going to attract a job or a business partner or experiences in your business that make sure that you don't believe in yourself, that double down on all of the reasons why you don't believe in yourself. And it sounds unfair until it works in your benefit. Until the ball starts moving and the trajectory starts working in your favor, and you start believing in yourself, and you start expecting better experiences with people, and you believe that the law of attraction works for you, and you believe that God is riding with you, rocking with you, watching over you, protecting you, and you believe that no matter what the difficulty or the adversity or whatever the situation is on the ground, that your interest, your desires, the things you want to make manifest will be made manifest. Your hard work will pay off. I can't tell you how many times I've got stuck in that space in my mind of, when is my hard work going to pay off? The fruits of my labor. It's the cross that every self-employed entrepreneur carries, especially if you're trying to be great, especially if you're trying to do something that hasn't been done. Right? It's the nature of the beast, so to speak. But this is alchemy at the highest levels. That's why everybody is not equipped to be self-employed. Shit is not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? Let me tap in with you guys in the chat room real quick, so I don't get too far behind. Let's see. So, decisive, yes, facts, underground, free housing, free healthcare, free education, and free food are human rights. Yes, I'm going to play that video next. Tuned in from New York City. Shout out to all of my people in New York. The book of Genesis states, every plant with seeds shall be food for you. Facts. Be cool, beautiful sister. God bless. Stay down. Power to the people. Much love. You too. Oakland Raider. I'm an Oakland Soul Raider. Just for clarity. I raid souls for a living. But yes, Raiders for sure. Raiders for life. Even though they're not in Oakland anymore. They're in Vegas, which is a fascinating concept. But look how far our people have come since the violence of slavery. Well, yeah, that's the whole point of the larger point that I was making, is that, the alchemy, how alchemy works is for those people who are able to get beyond the trauma, to get beyond the pain, to get beyond the difficulty and the adversity. When the pendulum swings, if slavery is over here, right? And if when the pendulum starts to swing back in the other direction, there's the middle point when you get to this point. But then if it swings to the equal or greater direction, then the amount of suffering, the amount of chaos, the amount of difficulty for those rare souls, right? 5% of the 5%, depending on context. But for those rare souls who are able to swing that pendulum in the other direction, that means you have access to an equal amount of abundance, an equal amount of love, an equal amount of clarity, an equal amount of the best things that this life has to offer. Now, how many of our people in America right now actually believe that that is their divine birthright? Not in word, not when they're reading the Bible, but in their belief in themselves, which is the real qualifying, the only qualifying concept in the bigger scheme of things in third dimensional reality, right? So we've made many, many great strides. When we talk about spirituality, when we talk about the law of assumption and whatnot, we're talking about making the power of the universe work for you, right? Tapping into the universal mind of God, which is in all of us, and making it work for us. Otherwise, what's the point? You know? Yeah, George Washington Carver, Granville Woods, Elijah McCoy, Lewis Lattimore, the Four Kings. There's thousands of names. John Coltrane, Miles Davis, facts. Most relationship podcasts have become exhausting because most aren't solution focused. It's the same arguments on repeat. There's minimal learning, facts, and it's all tethering. It's all it's like trading war stories. Everybody's coming together and trading war stories, and there's no real focus or intention about healing. And the caveat to that is that that's what gets the most attention in this world. That's why I always say that people get the leaders they deserve, right? Leaders, they pay attention to the people who are on their frequency, on their state of consciousness. And that's why a lot of these podcasts and these platforms have a lot of followers, because most people are not really trying to heal. They're not trying to get beyond the pain. They're trying to stay in it and then create a whole life based around being a victim or the problem, Great point. Yeah, exactly. Shadow integration. Exactly. You look very elegant tonight, Zaza. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, shout out to Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's one of my favorites. I meant to grab one of his books. There was something in there I wanted to bring to the table, but it's all good. Thank you for sharing your wisdom instead of just rehashing the complaints of the unwise. Surah 76 in full effect. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. Yeah, you read Surah 76. Yes, thank you so much, King. I appreciate you. Much love. And that's the goal. I don't want to be sitting here talking to you guys and wasting your time and saying the things that are already said, because it's just, what's the point? If this isn't improving your personal power, then what's the point? What's up, Pumpkin? Who is Pumpkin? I'm very interested to know. Being disconnected, we tend to distrust each other, though we seek the same. Definitely, I agree, Samuel. Netaru, facts, it's a certain focus and heart to be independent. Happy is the head that wears the crown. Facts. That's a great point. Great way to say it. Khalik said the quest for greatness is serious. Chapter 21. I'm great. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Khalik. It's a path that is treaded by few. But again, you even got to set the intention. And it's not even necessarily the intention to be great, right? Because that can be ego. Just like, yeah, I want to be great and to be known. But if you love something, if you have something that you really truly love, like me as a writer and even me with this content, this gives me, value. This is reciprocal for me to be engaging with you guys and to speaking to your mind and to your heart on something valuable that's not just going to be entertaining, and it's not going to provoke any thought. Then you're going to leave here and go watch a video about Sexy Red or whoever you guys watch. That's a joke. I brought her up because I saw a video on 92.3, I think it is, KBLA, or it's one of the LA radio stations that I follow on Instagram. And I guess she's doing a concert somewhere. And so it was just the video when she's on stage, and then she just turned around and started shaking her ass right in front of the camera. And I was just like, why do I have to see this? I follow you guys because I want to stay abreast with what's happening with the, in LA, situational awareness, right? But why do I need to see this? So I don't know why I said that, but yeah, it is definitely, thank you, Samuel, first of all, for super chat. I appreciate you very much. Much love. And again, coming back to the point that this gentleman on the screen, the freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. And that's the frequency and the vibration that I'm on right now. You spent your whole life thinking there are rules. There aren't any rules. Let's just settle on that for a second. Let's just let that breathe for a second. Actually, you know what? I want to come back to that. Because when I read that, it's not even something I don't know. I've heard it before. But when you're in a certain space in your mind and you're like processing, and you get to there's levels to your own personal wisdom. There aren't any rules, but there are rules if you live in that state of consciousness, right? Let me show this video by this brother real quick. I'm going to go and pour myself some water to quench my palate. And shout out to everybody that is just now tuning in. Thank you so much to my family for the love, the super chats. I appreciate you guys so much. Where is this video of this gentleman? Wait, which video is this? I have 2 more videos, but okay, that one. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna play this real quick, and I'm gonna get some water, and then I'll come right back. Un momento, por favor.
The creator of this earth made trees and plants that bear fruit for free. Water that comes from the oceans and the skies for free. A full ecosystem that works itself to create a self-sustaining life for free. From the birds to the bees. All for free. And then somebody woke up one day and was like, nah, I'm gonna charge these niggas for everything. So they then print money out of thin air, create a fake value on this money that was printed from thin air, to then feed you an idea that you have to trade your time and energy to earn this money that was printed from thin air. Then they put a price value on everything that the world already gave us for free. So then that money that you traded your time and energy for that was printed from thin air is given back to the people that printed it from thin air. And then you gotta work and trade more energy and time for more money to keep this cycle going. And y'all all just cool with that shit? Like, you mean to tell me you're not gonna do nothing about it? You're just gonna keep letting them do this shit in front of your face. To you, your kids, they kids' kids. And nobody is like, fuck this shit. And not just saying like, fuck this shit, but like, nah, fuck this shit. Let's burn this shit down right now. And actually burn this shit down. Just thinking about that make me want to lose my shit. But y'all be safe. Call me back, brother.
So burning it down is not necessary, especially when it comes to the beauty and magnificence of our planet. And I don't think that's what he meant. I think he more so meant the system, right? So just think about that idea. This is what's at the root of so much anxiety and depression. I shared this in my story earlier today. A lot of mental health issues disappear when bills are paid. Rent is secure and the fridge is full. Peace is expensive, and pretending money doesn't affect mental health is privilege. This is at the root of a lot of what we are considering mental health issues, what we are not considering anxiety, depression, right? People know, all of us know innately. It's like the passage from the alchemist, right? The carrying the oil in the spoon. When the king took him around the castle, when he got there, he said, okay, so the goal here is to carry the oil and the spoon at the same time. So not carry the oil and the spoon at the same time. Carry the oil in the spoon while going around and viewing all of the beauty of the kingdom. So he said, carry this spoon, don't drop any of the oil, but at the same time, check out the landscape, check out the gardening, check out the draperies, check out all of the beauty, right? And so Santiago, the first trip around, he's so focused on carrying the oil that he's not paying attention to anything around him. His whole goal is to come back to the king with the oil in check. Look, I did it, right? And so the king is like, okay, wonderful. You kept the oil. What did you think about the beautiful tapestries? What did you think about the artwork? What did you think about? He's naming off all these things, and Paul, and he's like, well, I didn't get a chance to see it. I was so focused on the oil. And so he said, this time when you go back and move around the kingdom, now you want to focus on all of these magnificent, the architecture, the structures, the artwork, the linens, the fabrics, the curtains, the draperies, the silks and all of the grandeur, right? This time when you go, and so this time he goes and he's not paying attention to the oil in the spoon. And so now he's come back and he can run it down. I saw this, I saw that, the marble, all of the beautiful things, the flowers, etc. He's like, yeah, but where's the oil in the spoon? Right? And so the the goal of that passage, the symbology of that passage is that most of us are only focused on keeping the oil in the spoon, and the shit is exhausting. Why? Because you really came here to see the beauties and magnificence of the kingdom of God. You really came here to explore. You really came here to create. You really came here to be passionate, to be stimulated by the finer things and the beautiful things and the luxuries of this world, in nature, in human beings, and creativity and consciousness, right? Like mining all of the richness of this life experience. And we can't do it because we're too busy trying to keep the oil in the spoon. Now, that's the duality, though. That's the balance, right? And depending on your life circumstances, some people grow up in wealthy, or rich or affluent families where they don't have to focus so much on money. They can go to school and focus, or some people are born in poverty and the only thing they can focus on is the oil in the school. Like, what do you mean beautiful tapestries and environment? Like, I grew up in Southside Chicago, right? But that's the bigger picture in terms of why we're here. And so many of us are overwhelmed and stressed out and not feeling connected to source. This is the biggest disconnect, in my opinion. When we talk to so many people who I feel lost, I don't know who I am. I don't know what to do, because they are not able to go and explore the beautiful tapestries and colors and artworks and just the textures of the beauty and the magnificence of this life experience. So coming back to the law of assumption, because what that brother is talking about is major energy harnessing. They're not just doing it because they want to make money. People always say follow the money. Yeah, following the money is part of it. Thank you so much, Dylan. I appreciate the Cash App. Much love. Shout out to everybody who was just tuning in. Thank you very much for being here, especially to talk about this topic, doubt interrupts the flow. We're talking about that as well as intuition and trusting your gut. So it's just an amalgamation of different topics to inspire you and to help you feel, solid and rooted in something, and to feel inspired about moving forward tonight, tomorrow, all the things, right? Make sure you guys like this video. If you don't follow me, please subscribe to the content. Don't follow me, subscribe. I'm not looking for followers, right? I just want to lead myself to greener pastures. And if I can help everybody else on the path, then that's the goal. But I do not even like to use the word followers, because I just want to inspire leaders. And then all reciprocity is accepted. Super chats, super stickers, super thank yous. Cash App is in the description, all of the things. So when we come back to the law of assumption, which is, think about the mass energy harnessing, right? Think about credit card debt. Islam, in righteous Islam, you're not even supposed to charge people interest for loans. You don't really hear a lot of people talk about that, because a lot of people don't really understand the righteous aspects of Islam because of what has been, sort of misconstrued or the propaganda aspect of it. And some of the propaganda is earned, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Muslim. As it pertains to the religion, I am a Muslim in terms of way of life. I'm a Christian in terms of Christ consciousness, but not the religious aspect of it, but the God consciousness aspect of all of them, of both. I read the Quran, study the Quran, read the Bible, study the Bible, Taoism, the ancient, philosophies of Kemet and the mystery systems of African spirituality. I find value in all of them. And the thing that we don't understand, is that consciousness creates reality. So anytime you have 2 million people studying the Quran, 2 million people studying the Bible, the book is alive. Just based on that fact alone, let alone the fact that we write history in advance, which is what prophecy is. But let me stay on my point. So we got mass energy harnessing, cell phone bill, water bill, electric bill, mortgage payments, insurance, principal and interest. We talk about mortgages, and you got a principal and interest, you got an escrow account, you got to pay taxes and insurance. You can pay those taxes one time a year, or you can break it down every month. Texas, the property taxes in Texas are insane. California too, but just a lot of people think the cost of living in Texas is a lot cheaper. It is, but the property taxes there are crazy, right? So you got rent, you got car payment, you got insurance. If you got children and you don't want to send them to a public school, yeah, you're gonna have to put some elbow grease in and probably pay a higher price to get them in a good school, a private school, right? You've got, I say a cell phone bill, household bills, utilities, right? You got to pay for food, and the cost of food is insane. You got gas prices. You got all of these things that we're all thinking about and focusing on a just survival mode on a day-to-day basis. So guess what? They're feeding on your energy because consciousness creates reality. So we're building their world every time we're afraid and anxious about debt and bills and our future and not being connected to source. When you can never not be connected to source, you can never not be connected to God. You can never not be loved and valued and appreciated and nurtured by Allah. The concept isn't even a real thing, but they have us believing in that, right? So mass energy harnessing is kind of like inadvertently worshiping the devil. Now I'm saying that in context because I feel like my audience can have that. I wouldn't say that if I was in a church setting. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say, yeah, if you're worried about your cell phone bill, you're indirectly worshiping the devil. But I feel like we can have a type of conversation here, right? So what is this doing? It is keeping you out of alignment. It is disallowing, that's not the word I want to use, but for lack of a better word, how can you be tuned into and focusing on the law of assumption if you're living in fear? Assuming that things will work out in your best favor, assuming that all things work for the greater good, assuming that whatever adversity or difficulty or struggle you're facing in the moment is not going to eventually lead you to your highest and best good. This is soul harvesting and energy harnessing at the highest levels. And what do we say? 50% of Americans are depressed. 50% of women, domesticated women, women who are mothers, women who don't work jobs, stay-at-home moms. 50% of stay-at-home moms in this country are addicted to prescription pills. And these are the women that are supposed to have, at least in terms of the bills and the struggle and the stress for the most part, should have a higher quality of life, right? Let me tap in with you guys in the chat room real quick. I know I'm on one, so just work with me here. Peace, King Hazy, what's good? How you doing? You are Cincinnati spicy pumpkin. Out of all the things you could possibly say to me, you have my attention. You're in my chat. You see the frequency I'm on, and that's what you came up with, huh? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and hope that you're not intentionally trying to take me off my square, because it's not going to work. But you know what I mean? Let's just be careful here. I came home from work, groomed myself, jumped in the tub, made linguine, and started trying out watermelon seeds for discovery. I'm here for that. There are rules, always the rule. You are where you are because you follow the rules. There are rules, always the rule. You are where you are because you follow the rules. So I think the concept of what was said in that passage, and actually I'll come back to that. So let's just put a pin in that real quick so I can, I don't want to get too behind on the chat room. But thank you for the super chat. Party Samuel, this is what I meant to say first and foremost. Dr. Kia Pruitt, Chief Mack, and Mel Carmine regularly talk about how the system is crashing and how government is being restructured in favor of humanity. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about that right now. Shout out to all of the great minds among us that are prophesizing a righteous outcome in the bigger scheme of things. This woman's thought process is really deep. I mean, you know, I try. Life has been my greatest teacher, you know? So let me come back to this passage about rules. Shout out to everybody that's just tuning in. Please like this video. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for that. You spent your whole life thinking there are rules. There aren't. This is the thing that I think most people struggle with, that I know most people struggle with. The physical dynamic of this world is just part of the experience while we're here. But we live in a vibrational reality, right? So when it comes to the law of attraction, when it comes to the law of attraction of assumption, when it comes to the power of the mind, frequency, energy, vibration, consciousness, all these things that we talk about, it's really movement that we're talking about. It's really energy that we're talking about. And so there are rules, the universal laws. Some people might consider those as rules. Those aren't rules. They're just guiding mechanisms for how the earth and the universe and humanity and everything in creation is sort of like navigating and interacting, right? There's rules like you got to stop at a traffic light. You stop at a red light. You wait until the light turns green. Or let's see, what's another rule? Traffic violations. The banking system, right? If you don't pay a bill, or you write a check and it bounces, or you pay an NSF fee, or you get, you have to pay if you pay a bill and you pay it late, there's a late fee. Those are rules that are relative to third dimensional reality. Yes, that's the carrying the oil in the spoon part of this. So those things I feel like go without saying, that we all have to either comply or sort of, even in business, there's rules and regulations in terms of running a business. There's rules and regulations as a consumer, right? You go in a store and buy a pack of pens, you have to pay tax. Sales tax out here, I think, is 10.25%. So yeah, you can't go in the store and be like, yeah, I just want to buy that pack of pens, but I don't want to pay sales tax. That's a rule, right? So on a third dimensional level, yes. On a spiritual level, no. Not rules. Laws for us to govern ourselves by. Laws for us to get a deeper and a proper understanding of the micro and the macrocosm, to stay connected to source, right? To be rooted in something beyond just, the physical plane, so to speak. But yeah, there are no rules on a spiritual level. Now, there's some people say fear of God. The Bible says fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And everybody, for me, I was like, oh, it's the beginning of wisdom. It's not actually the full spectrum of wisdom. It's the beginning of wisdom, because you are acknowledging and recognizing that there is something greater than yourself. But when you understand the concept and the frequency of fear, you understand on a deeper level how counterproductive that can be. Right? So there's allegory and symbolism in a lot of this, but on a spiritual level, when it comes to the law of assumption, when it comes to choosing and deciding what your desire is, what your heart's goal is, what you want to be made manifest in the physical, there are no rules. Some people might say, well, you got to work hard for it. Some people work hard and get what they want. Everybody does not work hard. The people who have the most money work the least. Or they might work more, but they are not working hard. Getting on a private jet and going to a meeting in Paris, to discuss a business deal, and then to turn around and go and have tea and crumpets before you and take pictures at the Eiffel Tower before you fly back home. For a person who is using a jackhammer and breaking cement every day, the concept of hard work is totally different. I've manifested things in my life in full time that I did not have to work hard for. And I've also spent periods of time where I was busting my ass and working hard, and the money was not coming through, because it's a frequency and vibration game. And it also depends on where you are in your bandwidth of consciousness, to where how those rules, if you will, apply to you. Right? Because again, if you believe that you are limited in your upward mobility because of whatever that belief or lack thereof is, then guess what? The universe is going to line you up with time and circumstance and people, places, and things that will make that be made manifest and to make that true. It just depends on the limit in the way that you perceive things and how you see things. Thank you so much, Keisha. I appreciate the Cash App. And a reminder to everyone, my Cash App information is in the description, and I'm accepting all reciprocity and love. Get the lights up. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Sorry, my nephew got a hold of my phone. Oh, okay. All right, Joseph, you was about to take me there. A child can survive without luxury. They cannot survive without emotional safety. This is at the heart of what I believe is, how I'm constantly saying that many, if not most of us, have never been properly loved. So 2020, the precipice of the spiritual war really sort of went to a whole nother level, right? The trajectory of it went to a whole nother level. And we had a grace period where we were all afforded the opportunity to stop and to pause and to assess our lives, to assess our family dynamic, to assess our households, to assess where we are and what we wanted to do, right? And many people, if not most people, I don't know how to quantify that, did not take advantage of that time, right? And so what I know to be true from my personal experience in the last 4 years, I've had like 2 bouts with Dark Night of the Soul, where, here where I've read all the books, I've studied the scriptures backwards and forwards. I've focused my eating. I've been fasting for 20 plus years. I've been plant-based for 15 years. I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to figure it out. I think I'm doing good. And then all of a sudden I hit a wall, a big ass brick wall that I cannot see beyond. I can't see past. And I'm like, and I went into why art thou forsaking me mode, meaning God, why are you doing this to me? Haven't you seen what I've been doing? Haven't you seen my work? Does anything I've done matter? Don't you love me? Are you with me? Do you care about my struggle? I'm suffering right now. Do you see me? Can you feel me? Does anybody up there care? Is anybody watching? Is anybody paying attention? What is happening right now in my life? I'm talking about the last 4 years. Okay. This is, I have consistently been on this trajectory where I felt like, okay, I got a good rhythm. I feel good about where I am right now. Things are making sense. Life is making sense. And then all of a sudden I hit a brick wall. Why did I hit the brick wall? Because multiple times, because I've still been radiating a void. What's the void? Lack of support, lack of family dynamic, lack of, being properly loved. Most of us have never been properly loved. We don't even know what it looks like, what it feels like, let alone for somebody to come along and be like, yeah, you just need to love yourself. Well, what does that even mean? If nobody's ever properly loved you, and I'm talking about family dynamic upbringing, and then most times that ends up extending to personal relationships, right? Who you marry, who you have a child by, who you're in a relationship patterns, right? So it seems like life is doubling down and reiterating on the void. I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about in the bigger scheme of things. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve happiness. I don't deserve financial well-being. Poverty is par for the course, so to speak, for, people who are spiritually focused, or even for artists. Think about that concept of a starving artist, where artists believe that, they cannot be properly sustained or taken care of or get reciprocity financially in terms of the art that they create. I went through that. I've been in that space, and this was the second part of the Dark Night of the Soul with my textbook, Ancient People, because I was like, I committed 3 years to something that has become a major stressor and strain for me, that I, had the highest and best possible outcome and intention and energy, and I did it for the best reasons, and I knew it was going to do all these things, and then I hit a brick wall with that, and now I'm like, okay, did I waste all of my time? Am I wasting my time? Have I wasted the last 20 years of my life? I've been through all of that in the past 4 years in particular. So that concept of a dark night of the soul, for me in particular, and in looking back at the last 6 years and the trajectory of what's been happening in the surrounding us in the physical reality, and then the pressure, it might be financial pressure, it might be relationship pressure, it might be I have to change. I have anger issues. I can't control my emotions. I don't know who I am. I don't love myself. I can't control my diet and the way that I eat. I don't know how to sit still and just focus. I don't feel like God loves me, like there's a connection. I have no support system. I'm living in fear. I'm worried about everything. I'm worried about my children and I'm sending them off into the world. I got somebody, one child going to college. I can't afford it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got one child dealing with, low self-esteem, or they're upset because their father isn't in their life and I don't know what to do. All of this shit, the mitote of the mind, which Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in the Four Agreements. The loudness, the chaos of the mind. Now is the time. And I say this emphatically for everybody listening to me. You might be financially well off. You might be struggling financially. You might be in a great relationship. You might be struggling in a traumatic relationship. Whatever end of the spectrum that you're on, we really have to mine, M-I-N-E, within ourselves, the wisdom of wherever we have fear, wherever we have worry, wherever we have self-doubt, lack of self-esteem, low self-esteem, lack-based consciousness, victim-based consciousness. Oh my God, the world is about to end. I'm not prepared. I don't have an emergency preparedness. What if this happens? What if that happens? Water shortages, white lines in the sky, mass, utility problems, power grid outages. I mean, I can run the gamut on the amount of things that there are for us to be worried and fearful and stressed about on any given day. But guess what? The law of assumption is going to work in the other direction as well. That's why I have to be balanced. That's why I have to come and do these type of conversations after I talk about AI or talk about whatever is happening in the world. Because it's incumbent upon me. It's to my benefit. It's to my son's benefit that I have people in the world, that we have people in the world that are striving for the light, that understand how energy and vibration and consciousness works, that understand that the law of assumption can and will and does work for you. It can work against you in terms of what you don't want, or it can definitely work for what you do want, what you do deserve, what you do desire. I'm invested. It can't just be me or people like me. Or if the number is 5% of the 5%, how can we get those numbers up? That's what I think about at night. That's why I wrote books. That's why I wrote workbooks. How can we get that number up? 144,000 out of 8 billion? 144,000 out of 8 billion. The number is staggering. And I don't even think it's a specific number. There's a numeric value, the 144,000 equates to 9. So there's a lot of symbolism, and we could get into the numeric value, the gematria, and all of those things, but we don't even need to go there. The staggering difference between 8 billion and 144,000, to me, underscores the point of the concept, going back to it is critical that you believe in yourself right now. You can't even be in 144,000 if you don't believe in yourself. You can't be considered, and this is chosen ones choose themselves, so this is not me projecting or making assumptions or having an accusatory tone. This is just me really speaking with authority over myself, but what I know to be true. You can't even be in that number if you don't believe in yourself. If you don't believe and know that abundance is your divine birthright, if you don't believe that in the concept of what you believe in your mind's eye, and you are worthy of having a desire of simplicity or ease or abundance, or that all of your needs and wants are taken care of with ease. How can you be in that number if you're living in fear? I need to just let that settle for a second. Remember, it's not the number. The number is just a focal point. How can you be considered a child of God or a chosen one or the 144,000, or living in Christ consciousness, or the Elohim, or the major and minor scientists, or the beings of light, or the ones striving for the light, and you're living in fear. So when I go back to the 6-year timeline and this time right now, wherever we find fear, wherever we find it, for some of us is money, relationships, love, partnerships, whatever that thing is, what's happening in the world, the chaos of the world, the mitote of the mind of the world, wherever there's fear, that shit has to be uprooted. An exorcism needs to take place. And if the fear if it's a lifetime pattern, it's going to be even more what we would consider difficult. It's going to take more focus, more energy, more intention, more self-awareness, more studying of self, more reading, more getting off of the internet, because the social media is loud. We're all supposed to be upgrading our lives right now. I see everybody talking about CERN. I was going to talk about CERN in the AI video. I'm going to do a separate video about that. And how they just shut down CERN for the next 4 years. The timeline of that in 2030 is a whole nother ballgame. I don't want to get into that. But, they shut down this $1 trillion project so they could upgrade the technology, update the software, update all the things that it can possibly potentially do. It's a lot to that. I don't want to get into that. But how are we as human beings, as men and women in the collective consciousness, not actively, intentionally focusing on upgrading our software? Your software being, hold on, let me see. I got to tap in with the chat, make sure everything is good. Okay, transmutation, alchemy, facts. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for the super chat. I appreciate the reciprocity. Uriel, how you doing, my brother? Good to see you. Thank you so much. Very happy to have you here. That's my brother here in these LA streets. Miss Keita said, Woo-sa. Yeah, big woo-sa. Good intentions to Mr. Mel Carmaine. Mine, he is healing in a hospital. Much love to him, for sure. Boosie, why are you saying FOH? I don't understand. The Joy I Found said it's hard out here. Yes, sis, that's a prophecy. How you doing, Queen? That's my sister. I know her personally. It's hard out here. That's a prophecy, sis. You said it in the chat, which means that you are saying it in your mind, which means you are accepting that as reality, right? Which means you are radiating that energy, right? She said, I'm trying to save myself and my family. Much love. I'm experiencing it. So yeah, that's what this conversation is about. I'm very happy to have you here because we're here to inject some clarity and some assurity and something rooted in something that is to your benefit, right? When you say trying to save myself and my family, when you understand, going back to Eckhart Tolle's work in The Power of Now, when you're trying and the trying is not paying dividends, or it seems like you are on a hamster wheel running in a circle, then that means we got to stop trying and just stop and be still. I know that's easier said than done, right? I know if you and this isn't your particular situation, but just like when you have real things happening in real time, in real life, like, it's like, no, I got to get out there and get it, right? I got to pound the pavement, so to speak. Pre-2020, yes. Post-2020, if you're striving to be a spiritually focused person, if you're striving to be connected to source and to feel something beyond just the mundane things of this world, and because I know you, I can say this, the level of self-awareness, the level of internal focus, the ability to tap in and listen to and be guided by our inner being, right? The focus on tapping into spiritual awareness and being moved and motivated by that, the belief in the law of assumption, the focus on using the law of assumption to our intention is greater. You know, I say ignorance is bliss. To a person that is not aware of the things that I'm talking about right now, or is not exploring the deeper sort of aspects of themselves, these rules are, yeah, I won't say they don't apply, and I use the word rule in context. A lot of this stuff won't apply to them in their world because they're not focusing on a day-to-day basis about, you know, how I'm thinking and feeling, right? My energy is what's creating my reality. They're not thinking about that. So as we continue to climb this ladder of self-awareness, the responsibility is higher. The pressure in terms of still living in the world, but really wanting to abide by our true and authentic self, the weight of that is greater. You know what I mean? You know how easy it would be for me to just put on, I've said this before, and this conversation is making me think about it. If I just wanted to, you know what I mean, put on some booty shorts and a push-up bra and you know what I mean, create a calendar and sell it for $20 on my social media pages and create an OnlyFans, you know how easy that shit would be for me to financially cover down on myself and not have to worry about money. The level of trajectory and my intention for being a light in the world and my intention for staying true to my authentic self, I could do it, but I would die a slow death. I could do it, but I wouldn't be able to look my son in his eyes. I could do it, but I had somebody send me a message today on Instagram, and he's been blocked since. But just this person ain't got no likes. They don't have no followers. So it's just probably somebody tuning in right now who just created a fake page just to try to play with me. Pause. And basically was like, you know, I think you should go back to eating meat. You're getting too slim. I like the curvaceous version of you better. Something to that effect. And I responded and was like, yeah, I've never eaten meat this whole time I've been online. But basically, like, I'm saying all of that to say, if I were to play that game, I would be dealing with that type of shit all the time. And I do not have the patience for that. You think sometimes I'll be in my videos and I'll blow a head gasket. You let a man say the wrong thing to me or send me some sexual energy that is not invited, it's going to be a problem. I don't like it, right? And so it's par for the course in this reality. So I'm saying there are plenty of things that you can do, that I can do, that we can do that are not aligned with our true authentic selves or our integrity. The world will celebrate you for that. The world will reward you for that. But spiritually, in terms of integrity, in terms of compromising yourself, and in terms of who you really truly are, I saw a video of a sister. She was a video vixen at a certain point, and so she had she had the BBL, she had silicone, she was beautiful, right? But she had a real like super curvy body that was like, you know, it looks good in pictures, but it's not really. You know what I mean? She started talking about the health complications and she got all this silicone and all this stuff in her body. But when you just look at the pictures and, you know, she was talking about Photoshop and all of the things, she looked good, right? She's like video vixen. She could be on the cover of Source or whatever. So she starts talking about the reality of her life at that time, how she was so miserable, how she was, you know, how men were treating her, how promiscuous her lifestyle at the time. And on the outside looking in, we got all these young women and these women that are looking at this and identifying this like, yeah, I want that for myself. But that shit comes with something. That's the part my young Miami ain't telling y'all. You know what I mean? And the young Miamis of the world and promoting stripper culture and all of that. Like, yeah, they're not telling you about the fact that you gotta swig a bottle of Hennessy or snort some coke to be able to get up on that stage and feel good about yourself. And I'm just not built like that, right? So to you, the joy I found, because I know you and because I've seen you and because I see you, we don't live in a world, we don't come from families. The system and the reality of this world is not set up to support us in our highest and best good. It's not set up to support you as a spiritual liaison. It's not set up to support you as an alchemist, as a woman, as a teacher, as a leader, as a thought leader, as someone who's trying to break through the confines of the matrix. You know, just like people making fun of people who are vegan, or making fun of you if you stop drinking alcohol, which I got a video about alcohol. I'm going to play in just a second. The reality in this environment is not going to support you. But if you want to put your ass up on a camera and start an OnlyFans, you can get paid overnight. So it's the prophet is the least honored in his or her home, his or her own home. It's being in this world, but not of this world. You know why your struggle is so difficult, sis? Because you are not of this world. You don't want to play the game. You really just want peace. You really just want to be your true, authentic self. You really just want to put your mind and your intentions for love and harmony and raising the vibration on our planet. That's what you really want to do. And so that's where the schism is, right? And so when you're in that space, and trust me, I know. So I just talked about the last 4 years, the dark night of the soul, where I'm battling myself. When you're in that space where it's a gray area and nothing is moving, that's when you got to be still. This is yin energy right now. We've been in yang energy for so long. Get up, chin up, chest out, figure it out, do whatever you got to do, make it happen. The shit's not working anymore. Unless you're willing to compromise yourself, or unless you're willing to commit yourself to something that is not in alignment with your highest and best good. So here we are, right? This is the yin energy. This is stop. This is be still. This is not, let me not look past today. Let me not think about the future. Let me not focus on tomorrow. Let me not focus on trying to save my family. Let me not focus on ... Let me just be here right now. Let me stay rooted in this moment. Let me love myself in this moment. Let me focus on my breathing in this moment. Let me remember who I am in this moment. Let me remember that I'm actively choosing to be in this world and not of this world. That is an active, everyday choice. You can choose to be in this world right now. You can stop this live right now and be like, I don't want to hear that shit. I got to get my money, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It doesn't, I'm not saying the issue is a money thing. What I am saying is that you can choose right now to be in this world and be worldly. And this world will reward you greatly. I see so many females online who are quote unquote coaches, life coaches, woman coaches, and they're so mean to Black women in particular. I don't Black women, it's just, water seeks its own level. People get the leaders they deserve, that type of thing. I've seen so many women over the years who talk down to women, and these women flock to them, and they pay them big money, and you know what I mean? And they just speak down to them and they degrade them. Some of y'all favorite leaders, men, get up on podcasts and talk down to you and talk shit to you like they're the best thing since sliced bread. You follow me and I am the way. Yeah, okay. Right? And so I see that a lot. So and there's money in that. There's movement in that. There's momentum in that, because we've been trained to believe that suffering is the way to abundance. That suffering is the way to, the gates of heaven opening to you, so to speak. And that's a lot of that deals with religion in that religious context. Suffer while you're here on earth, and then you go to heaven, and then the streets are going to be paved with gold and all the things. Like, yeah, no, that's never the way those scriptures were supposed to be interpreted. So I need to, mean girl energy on 1,000. It's insane. It's crazy to me. And then they call it sisterhood. And then everybody wears white and they have a wonderful ceremony at the end. And take great pictures and post them on Instagram. Trust me, I know a lot of things and a lot of people I do not talk about. But one thing women you're never going to get from me is mean girl energy. I might hold us accountable. I might, my tongue might get sharp at certain points, but everything I say and do is out of love. And more importantly than anything, I chastise myself more than I chastise anybody. Anything that I apply in my teachings that I talk about, I've already cracked the whip over myself 1,000 times before I ever even talk to you guys about it. You know, more since I have been looking for you. You left a comment on one of my videos about your mom and then you erased it. I have been looking for you. I don't have your email address. I don't even know how to reach out to you. Please, can you please send me an email? Can you email me, please, so that I can send you the proper response that I was trying to send before you erase that comment? I have been looking for you, sir. Thank you. I absolutely saw it, and I know exactly who you are. And yes, I need to tap in with you and make sure that you're straight. He said it gets sandwiched hot dog franked by Michael Rubin and Lil Baby. Facts. At the white party, LOL, just joining. I might be out of context. No, we were talking about the mean girl energy and a lot of these sisterhood cycles where these women speak down to the women that they're supposed to be leading or teaching or helping. And they do very well because the people get the leaders they deserve, and because we think that we have to suffer and be traumatized and brutalized before we actually get to the wisdom and the love and the importance and the value within ourselves. And I just, life already beat me up enough, so that shit's just not going to work with me. The first time you start talking greasy, I'm going to either exit stage left or I'm going to grab a microphone and we're going to have to talk about it. I'm just not built for that. So let me come back. I want to tap in with you guys in the chat room real quick. We're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. I didn't know how long I was going to speak today. I just was going to kind of let the spirit and the energy unfold in me. Hey, Zaza, how can I? Oh, peace, Kevin, was good. Hey, Zaza, how can I book you for Radio Broadcasting Network? Well, first of all, thank you so much for the super chat. Shoot me an email to info@zazaali.com and let's talk about it. Yeek TV Atlanta. I should be. My son is in Atlanta visiting right now. I'll be coming back to Atlanta very soon to tap in with my family there. But yeah, shoot me an email and let's talk about it. The calendar will go platinum. This I know. You see what I'm saying? So I hope you guys appreciate my level of discipline and self-awareness, right? It's a thing. And you know what I mean? I just don't have the patience and the temperament for it. I'm staying true and loving and authentic, and the facts is being faced, and I can understand. Yeah, I'm with you, sis. The synagogue of Satan is trying to push humanity within this country into a civil war. Abba Yah is trying to push humanity into a more civil, polite world. Israelites are anointed to spark the kingdom. Facts. I'm with you on that. You got to find refuge in being in this world and not of this world, sis. When you say I'm trying to, right, and it denotes a certain type of energy. The language denotes a lack of success, right? The language denotes, and even the first thing you said, thank you so much, KGB. I appreciate you for the super chat. The language denotes struggle, right? And this is in the context of what we're saying. And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said it the way you said it, because if you're saying it to us, this is going on in your mind all the time. This is a repetitive thing in your mind all the time, right? So when we come back to the yin energy and just be present, gratitude for my integrity, gratitude that I'm striving to live in my true authentic self, gratitude for my mind, for my body, for my spirit, for my family, gratitude for the ability to be centered, gratitude that I know who I am. You know your purpose, sis. You are light years ahead of a lot of people. I know you. I've watched you. You know your purpose. Give thanks for that. You're already 10 steps ahead of the curve, right? It's just the conflict of how can I live in my purpose and take care of myself and take care of my family and not compromise my true authentic self. That's the prayer. That's the guidance that you're asking for. That's the clarity that you're asking for. So we want to get off of the I'm trying to, and it's hard to I am seeking counsel. I am seeking clarity. I am seeking guidance. My goal, my desire is to live and to manifest my truest and best representation, my highest and best potential. I can feel my inner being speaking to me. I can feel my higher mind guiding me. I want to abide by that. I want to live by that. I want to feel that. I want to embody that. Help me find the path. Help me make manifest. You see what I'm saying? Totally different frequency in the language and in the words. Yeah, that Young Miami pieces. But you know, the cold part about it is that the crash and burn for these celebrities is I don't even want to project that, but I just know what I'm looking at. I know what's coming. This the same, all of the gluttony, all of the glamour. Look at Diddy. You know what I mean? Everybody loved him on the way up, and as soon as he started crashing and burning, everybody sat around and got popcorn and watched his ass and watched them humiliate him and continue to humiliate him. So the same path that you took to go up, remember the video I showed? I'm a whore. I'm a proud whore. I like when men piss on me. You know, all of that, setting that example and putting that out into the ethers and understanding we live in a social media time now. So where all these girls and these young women are watching us, there's a price to pay for that. Now, you might not necessarily have to crash and burn, but you will have to do an about face and completely change the trajectory of your life. And the magnitude of what you give has to match the magnitude of what you took away. What did you take away? The sacredness of being a woman, the sacredness of your body, the power of your mind, the impact that you have with the millions of followers that you have, the extreme amount. She bragged and said, we know it was Diddy. Diddy spent $2 million on her in one day. But then you turn around and make a song about scamming and boosting. Okay, sis. One thing we do know is them tables do turn. Samuel said compromised. You know, you made me think about Samuel Jackson. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Yeah, the mean girl energy is something special. You can't play that shit around me. I am not having it. For spirituality, for sisterhood, in all white or in all green. It's just not going to happen. And I'm not going to allow you to be doing that shit to other women in my presence, especially like vulnerable or young women. Yeah, no. Something's going to have to give, you know? Zaza is preaching tonight. A little something, you know? This is why we love you, Zaza. This is why I love you, Queen. I appreciate you. Calhoun, much love, my brother. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. And I'm always happy to see you because I know you've been rocking me. I'm always happy to see you in my chat because I know you've been rocking with me for a long time. Yeah, you know, Joy, this is what we do. You know what I mean? It's all about language. It's all about perspective. You exude feminine God source. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's a work in progress. You know, you're looking good, Zaza. Thank you. That's that plant-based diet and that yoga. Somebody just really sent me a message and was like, you're too slim. You need to start eating meat again. Like, what? It's crazy. Okay, so let me come back to my notes, right? So we talked about, this is something I wrote down. I was listening to Neville Goddard the other day. Confident expectancy. And that's, you know, that runs parallel with the law of assumption, right? Being confident in what you expect from life. Now, I talked about my dark night of the soul, my family upbringing, my lack of support system, right? So that's an area where I struggle with confident expectancy. So it's an area where I've been radiating a void. And it's an area that consistently I have a pattern of attracting people, places, and things and experiences that radiate that void, right? So that's my work. Some of us have a poverty consciousness, and so we expect to struggle. We expect to be limited in finances, right? So then that will be your work. If you struggle with your health and your physical health and your body is always at war with you, or you have chronic pain or chronic illness, then that's your struggle. If you have, issues with your children or issues in your family dynamic, and you expect, the family element is a big part of a lot of our problems and a lot of our issues, right? That inner child aspect. Some of us don't know how to be alone. If that's your issue, then that's your work, right? But confident expectancy. I feel like we should all have something or some things where we have a confident expectancy. I went through a pattern, a process, and I talked about this before, where I was like mad at myself, like, why did I write this book? I've spent so much money, so much of my savings, so much of my time and my energy. I put so much in this book. Why did I do this? I made a mistake. You know, Lot's wife turning around and looking back and turning to a pillar of salt. That's what that's really about, doubting yourself. And so now I'm restructuring my mind back to where it was when I wrote the book for confident expectancy. No, everything I expected to make manifest from that book is on its way, 100%. Being decisive. And wherever you're indecisive, this is where the work is. I haven't even read from 3 Magic Words yet. I have a whole passage from there. Let me just get through my notes here. You know, it's critical right now to believe in yourself. And if you don't, then that's the work. Social media is throwing the natural algorithms of our thoughts off. That's a bar. I actually wrote this down in my notes. We have access to so much content, right? And so many different minds and so many different perspectives. And it ain't just the dysfunctional stuff. It's not just the ratchet stuff. It's not just the, you know, the crazy stuff that's happening in the world. Sometimes it's the spiritual stuff, right? Sometimes it's the metaphysics stuff. Sometimes it's the lady or the man that you follow because, you know, you appreciate their message or you appreciate their energy. But now that shit's triggering you for whatever reason. You know, you might be in a comparison mode. You might be, you know, I tried that, it don't work. Right? Yeah, you talking about meditation. I tried that shit, it don't work, or whatever it is. But the social media is throwing the natural algorithm of our thoughts off. And I know because I have watched and observed myself, you know, going online. And, you know, I have a different type of relationship with, you know what I mean? 40,000 followers on Instagram, 40,000, 44,000 on Facebook, 42,000 here on YouTube. Like, that's a lot of people. And I'm not engaging with all of them all the time, but I am consistently engaging with people consistently. And I got to deal with comments. I got to deal with DMs. I got to deal with different perspectives. But then I also have to be mindful of the frequency that I'm setting when I'm in this space, right? So if you're finding yourself out of alignment or you're struggling to like really just, you know, get in a good space, social media and doing a social media fast might be a good thing. Thank you, Stevie. I appreciate you. White man God theory, Einstein's. I'm not sure what that means. Peace, DJ. Mo Eskimo or Mo Eskino. Peace, Nuna. Nuna knows what's good. Shout outs to you, Zaza. Keep up the good work. Consistent at its finest. Much love, Master Lee. I appreciate you. And you are in Thailand, if I remember correctly. Lil Geronimo's place. It's great to see Zaza. She has beautiful teeth. Well, everything really. So you want to eat plants, huh? You should eat a little bit of meat. Otherwise, I heard it make you go crazy. Look it up and see. Why would I look it up when I'm 46 and I'm sitting here talking to you with no makeup? This is how I really look. I have on lipstick. Why would I look up eating meat when I am literally like in the best state of my physical well-being probably than ever? That doesn't even make sense, family. Y'all got to start thinking and considering and pondering the things that you say to me before you say them. Respectfully, because I know you probably mean well. Peace, HA, what's good? I feel like I've missed a lot. I'll rewatch with T in the AM. Hey, Zaza and the fam. Hope all is well. Yeah, this one has been a real classic. How did a fly get in here? I don't even know. Thank you, Anunnaki. I appreciate you. I've seen this and been wondering about it when dark for days because it's, yeah, I don't even understand why people feel compelled to say things like that to strangers. You know what I mean? Like just value me and appreciate me as I am. I'm you know, just stay in the light. That's all you got to do. When you come in this space, just stay in the light and reach for the light. Everything changes when you start to emit your own frequency rather than absorbing. Wait, let me start over. Everything changes when you start to emit your own frequency rather than absorbing the frequencies around you. When you start imprinting your intent on the universe rather than receiving an imprint from existing. Most of us are receiving, and this is why there's no such thing as casual sex. And I need to do a separate video on that because that'll take me somewhere else. But, you know, sex, casual or not, is one of the greatest representations of receiving and in a frequency and absorbing the frequency from another human being. Not to mention the DNA, not to mention, you know, bodily fluids, not to mention energy, right? So emitting your own frequency rather than absorbing the frequencies around you. This goes back to what I was saying to Joy in terms of the world not supporting you in you know, in becoming your true and authentic self versus the world of, you know, I said the world not supporting you in terms of becoming your true authentic self versus the world supporting you when you on some bullshit, right? Or when you're living in your lower nature, right? There's a crowd around you if you want to drink, if you want to turn up and you know and get rocky and get rowdy. You know, y'all know what I mean. If you want to turn up, everybody shows up. If you're trying to fast, or if you want to focus on being a better person, or, you know, tap in with yourself on a higher level, or get in contact with nature, or tap, or, you know, resonate with God or something higher than yourself, there's nobody to be found. So this is a perfect example because a lot of us compromise ourselves for the sake of friendships, for the sake of being a part of the crowd, right? For the sake of being in the know or keeping up with the Joneses. It's a very rare breed of people that can feel comfortable in their own skin and feel comfortable being alone if it means compromising themselves in who they really truly are. Very rare breed of people. But this is our time now. This is why the challenges for us have been so difficult over the last 6 years. Because the last have been first, the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Well, you know, I think we think about that on a race level, and it's true on a certain level in terms of the race dichotomy, but it's really more so a frequency game. And being committed to and focused on your highest and best self, regardless to whom or what, regardless of the sacrifices that have to be made, regardless of the lack of support, regardless of the lack of financial support, whatever those things are, staying the course and staying true and committed to your true authentic self, your highest and best self, is the armor of God. Earlier I said believing in yourself is the armor of God. I said faith is the armor of God. Yeah, this is what it is, simplified though. Because, you know, the scriptures, you gotta, you know what I mean? You have to discern and decipher. And life is a scripture, and, you know, so there's that. Everybody tuning in, make sure if you guys like this video. I've just been on one. I've been forgetting to tell all the details. If you haven't watched this video, you definitely want to go back and watch the whole thing, because this is one of those classics that I feel in my soul that was beneficial for me. So I know if it was beneficial for me, it will be beneficial for you guys. Doubt interrupts the flow. And we also got into intuition and trusting your gut. Please like this video. All super chats, super stickers, super thank yous are welcome. My Cash App information is in the description if you found value in this message. And we are at the pinnacle of spiritual alchemy. It's a surveillance device. You know, I really don't know how it got in here, because I did not. I think I might have opened my door one time earlier today, and it was briefly. I don't even think I haven't even been outside today. How the hell did the fly get in here? None of the windows are open, unless it's just been like somewhere camped out and sleeping and waited for the right moment to piss me off while I'm live. That's a possibility too. But yeah, that's really, really strange. And I've been live with you guys now for 2 hours, and I haven't mentioned this fly yet. And now it's like flying around me in close proximity. Peace, Malik Supreme. How you doing, King? Thank you so much, Anunnaki. I appreciate you. Fly is the devil. Yeah, man, it's crazy. So we need to focus on not absorbing the frequency around us, the fear-based consciousness, the lack-based consciousness, you know, all of those things. Get more in tune with our intuition and trusting our gut. If you feel like you aren't tapped in with your intuition, you don't know where to go, you feel indecisive, you don't feel clear, then fast. And during your fast, ask for guidance, ask for clarity. If you've never fasted before, do a raw food fast. Just living salads, non-cooked food, vegetables, fruits, fresh squeezed juices, smoothies, right? All living foods. If you fast a lot, then do a fast and be still and sit with yourself. And remember that you have guidance and protection and nurturing and love around you, but we have to get, first of all, we have to tap in with that. We have to stay cognizant of that. We have to remember that. That's the energy behind the prayer. That's the energy behind the motivation. That's the energy behind the law of assumption, which we went in heavy on that, right? That's the energy behind the confident expectancy. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. What does that mean? What do you want to make manifest? How do you want to live your life? What's the highest and best possible outcome? How good can it get? How beautiful can life be? How much value can you add? How much beauty can you add? How much clarity can you add? That's one of the things I love about doing my consultations, man, to see a person go from being stuck and stagnant to like the light going off in their eyes, and they feel clarity and assurity, man. That shit is powerful. It's a mutual transmutation, you know? So spiritual alchemy right now is going to depend on what you need to focus on and what you need to work on. Wherever there is fear, we can't run from it anymore. Wherever you've been settling for less, yeah, you're gonna have to cut that shit out, or the ramifications are increasing. The hell within ourselves is increasing. Heaven and hell is increasing. You know what I mean? I think I've said enough. I didn't even read my passage from 3 Magic Words. Maybe I'll do a separate video and I'll title it Intuition, Trust Your Gut, because the passage I was going to read from there is going to take some time. And I feel like we've had a soulful in this conversation. I did say thank you, Anunnaki, for the super chat, right? Much love. I appreciate you. If I didn't, pardon me. I feel like we have given each other a beautiful sort of soul to soul and heart to heart conversation. If you did come in late, please go back and watch this full video. I promise you it's going to be very beneficial. And again, my Cash App is in the description. Thank you so much to my tribe, my family, for supporting me with reciprocity with the super chats and super stickers. I appreciate you guys very much. I might go ahead and record that video, that part 2 of that AI video tonight. And if I do, I might like post it live, record it and then post it live. That way I don't have to deal with the chat room, so I can just stay on point, say what I need to say, and then keep it moving. But yeah, I'll probably come back and do a part 2 to this about intuition and trusting your gut. All right. I brought this message to you guys with love. I felt like it was necessary. I felt like, you know what I mean? Spirit just moved me to do this. And so here we are. And I appreciate you guys as always for your time, for your attention. I can get people to listen to, I can get 100 people to listen to me for 2 hours, and I ain't talk about nothing worldly. We talk about God consciousness, high vibration, love, and expanding. And so that means everything to me. And I will see you beautiful people very soon. Peace and love. Thank you, society. Thank you for being nice. And I see all this love in the chat room. So thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to me. Peace and love. Thank you. Wait a minute. Hold on. Thank you so much, Art Taken for Granted. I appreciate you for the super chat. Good looking out. And I'll see you beautiful people very soon. Peace and love.